The topic for this video is normal distribution. Till now we have discussed about binomial and Poisson distribution, which were the types of discrete probability distribution because they were based upon the discrete random variables. Now we will talk about the normal distribution, which is based upon continuous probability distribution that will be dependent upon the continuous random variables. The concept of normal distribution was initiated by De Moivre in the year 1733, and he gave up one equation and he applied this equation to the problems arising from game of chance. Then later on in 19th century, this idea was further rediscovered by Gauss and Laplace. So they just tried to find out the theory of accidental errors which were involved in the calculation of orbits of heavenly bodies. That is why the normal distribution curve that you will see further is also known as Gaussian curve, because that was based upon the name of Gauss, which today we just remember as normal distribution curve. So now how normal distribution curve looks like. So this curve looks like this. The shape of this normal distribution curve. This curve is known as normal distribution curve. You have to remember that this curve does not touches the x-axis. So from both the sides, the tails you can see, they will not touch the x-axis. Now there are certain properties of this normal distribution curve. So what are these properties of normal distribution curve? The first property is shape of the curve. Now as shown, the shape of the normal distribution curve is always bell shaped. So it is bell shaped and it is symmetrical about mean. So maximum concentration of the frequencies will be here. So if we talk about a class and we want to measure the height of a class, for example, there are 50 students and we are trying to find out what is the mean height. So majority of the students, for example, have 5'5" height or 5'4" height. So the concentration will be near about here only. Otherwise, the students, those who have very height like 5.1, they might be falling here, 5.7 might be falling here, but their frequency may be less. Maybe there are 1 or 2 students, but majority of the students will be having that average height, that is 5'5". So that is what we can say, that this maximum concentration of frequencies is at the top, and on both the sides we can say the frequencies are evenly distributed. Evenly distributed means we can say that on both the sides 50-50% area is covered. So generally we call it, this is 0.5 and this is 0.5. And if you have been told that how much is the area under the normal distribution curve, so we say that area under the normal distribution curve is always 1, or we can say 100%, and 50-50% lies equally on both the sides. So this is how the shape of normal distribution curve is designed, and if this graph is folded at the center, we can say that curve of one half would cover the curve of other half. It means it will be exactly same on both the sides. Now another thing, as I told you, it will never touch both the tails. So we can say that two extremes of the curve, they can extend to infinity. You can take it to infinite, but they will never touch the base. Coming to the second property. Second property deals with the measures of central tendency. As we have already seen that the measures of central tendency are mean, median, mode, harmonic mean, geometric mean. So if we have to calculate those measures of central tendency in this normal distribution curve, we generally say that here at this point mean is equals to median is equals to mode. So all the three measures, that is mean, median and mode, they are in perfect symmetry because the distribution is normal. Now the third property says that unimodal. Unimodal means any series that is having only one mode. So here also we have already seen that this is the point where mode is calculated. This is the highest peak. So there is only one mode. So because of only one peak, this distribution is unimodal. Talking about the fourth property of normal distribution, fourth property says that if we have to calculate the moments, so the odd moments in the normal distribution will always be equal to 0. Odd moments means moment 1, if we have to calculate moment 3 or moment 5, that will always be equal to 0. The value of odd moment will be 0, and if you have to find out moment 2, it will always be equal to square of standard deviation, or we can say variance. The fifth property talks about measures of dispersion. Like as we have done the measures of central tendency, now if we talk about the measures of dispersion, here if you have to find out the quartile deviation of a normal distribution curve, it will be equal to probable error. That will be equal to 2/3 of standard deviation. So if we have to say the relationship between quartile deviation and standard deviation, so quartile deviation is equals to 2/3 of standard deviation. In the same way, if you have to calculate the mean deviation in case of normal distribution, it will be 4/5 of the standard deviation. Now property number 6, it talks about the skewness. We generally say that in normal distribution there is no skewness because it is evenly distributed, so no skewness. If we have to find out beta 1, we apply the formula moment 3 square divided by moment 2 cube, and this will be 0 in this case. You can apply this formula also, but skewness will be 0. In the seventh property, we will talk about kurtosis. So talking about kurtosis, a normal distribution curve is always mesokurtic. So in the form of, if you have to calculate beta 2, its value can be calculated by fourth moment divided by moment 2 square. This we have seen in case of kurtosis video also. So if you have to calculate the value of kurtosis, you will see that normal distribution curve is always mesokurtic. Now in the eighth property, we will talk about two important parameters that you will be using in the questions as well. So here mu and standard deviation. These are the two very crucial parameters that are generally used in case of normal distribution. So with the help of these two parameters, you can calculate and estimate even the complex distributions. Next comes the calculation of quartile 1 and quartile 3. So if you have to calculate the quartiles, we know that medium is in the center. So quartile 1 will be on this side and quartile 3 will be on this side. So it is assumed that in case of normal distribution, they are equidistant from median. It means the difference here and the difference here, it will be same. So if we have talked that this full is 100%, so this will be covering 25% area. Quartile 1, quartile 2 or median from here, this will be 25%, again till quartile 3 25%, and after quartile 4 25%. So our quartiles will be dividing the entire line into equal 4 parts, or we can say that these two quartiles will be equidistant from the median. Then 10th and the last property talks about the area property. So how much area is being covered under these curves? So now in this property, the area is being, how much area will be covered under which segment. So if you have to calculate that area under the normal distribution curve, it is generally divided in 3 parts. So if you do mean plus minus standard deviation, so this portion, plus means if you will be having calculating this side, positive side, minus means if you want to calculate the negative side. So if you will add standard deviation into the mean, you can see it will be on this side, and will you deduct it, it will be on this side. So if mean plus minus standard deviation is calculated, it covers 68.27% area of the normal distribution curve. Then if you talk about mean plus minus 2 standard deviation, now if we multiply standard deviation with 2 also, so it will be covering 95.45% area of this normal distribution curve. Similarly, if you do mean plus minus 3 standard deviation, so it will be covering 99.73% area of the normal distribution curve. So in the first case, if you calculate mean plus minus standard deviation, it will be covering 68% around area, and we can say that there will be 34% area on the either side of the mean. And if you talk about the second limit, then we are saying that if you calculate these limits, these limits are going to cover 95% area of this curve, and 47% area will be on the either side. Similarly, in the last, if you calculate mean plus minus 3 standard deviation, it will cover 99% area, and 49% of the area on either side will be covered. So these were the properties of normal distribution curve. Next, we are going to discuss certain other conditions, assumptions, the formula that we will be using. So now when you are applying the normal distribution, there are certain conditions, and distribution will be based upon these conditions or these assumptions. The first condition or assumption is independence. Independence means that the random or casual forces which affect the individual events must be numerous and independent of each other. For example, if you are measuring the height of the students, the same type of climate, same type of food, same type of hereditary aspects must be there for all the students. It means all the events must be independent. It should not be affected by any third force. Second assumption is equal importance. Now, when you are talking about the normal distribution curve, all the forces are of equal importance. So you cannot say that one force is more important, other force is less important. We will have to assume that all the forces under which our event has risen, it should be of equal importance. The third point is homogeneity. The forces that you are using for the normal distribution curve must be same over the universe. So from where you are drawing your sample, your observations, the entire population should be same. And the fourth and last assumption is symmetry. Symmetry means the forces that produce the variations about the mean. So the operation of casual forces must be such that deviation about the mean are balanced in the magnitude. As we have seen, the curve was symmetry. On both the sides, the things were same. So there should be symmetry in the things. Now, based upon these four assumptions, the formula that we are going to use is Z is equals to x minus mu upon standard deviation. Either we can write like that, or easier way is x minus x mean upon standard deviation, or you can show it like that. So mu is x mean only. That only differs in case of sample and population. So you can use this term x minus x mean upon standard deviation. And Z stands for the area of normal distribution curve. X stands for the value for which we are working, or the value which we will be locating. This is our mean value, and this is our standard deviation value. So with these figures, we will be moving ahead and finding the area under the normal distribution curve. Now let's see one example, then it will be more clear. Now this is a very simple practical question of normal distribution curve. Here it is given that the mean of a distribution is 70. Standard deviation of the distribution is 8. Assuming that distribution is normal, it means we have to work with a normal distribution formula. Calculate the area between x1 is 60 and x2 is 80. So we know that we are going to start with a normal distribution formula. So first of all, that I just told you the formula, as there are two values, so I am putting Z1. So our formula is x minus x mean upon standard deviation. As there are 2x, so I am putting here x1. So first let us calculate the value for this. X is 60, x mean is 70, standard deviation is 8. So it will be 10 divided by 8 in the negative. So when you will divide this, it will be minus 1.25. Now second Z, same formula we are going to apply. Now second time our x is 82 minus mean, it will be same, standard deviation will be same. So it will be 12 divided by 8, that is 1.5. So we have to find the area. Area is this between this x1 and x2. So now what you will do is, once you calculate these values, we will be drawing a normal distribution curve. In every question you will have to draw this normal distribution curve for the sake of your calculation. So now, as I have told you, the center, it denotes the mean value. So minus 1.25, where will it go? It will go on the negative side. This we assume to be negative side, this we assume to be positive side. So minus 1.25 will be somewhat here. This you have to just point out with the estimate. It is not that you have to draw some lines, just the negative value, it will be coming on the negative side. So here z is equals to minus 1.25 and the second value is positive 1.5. So it will be on the positive side. So 1.5, z is equals to 1.5 will be on this side. Now we have to calculate the value or area between these two values. So between means we will draw these lines further. Between means this portion we have to calculate. Between z is equals to minus 1.25 and z is equals to 1.5, the between area shows these values. Now we will just see these values from the table. Now what is the table value of this area? This is area we have calculated, but you have to see what is the table value of this area. Now I will show you the table at the last of your book, at the end of your book, from where you will locate these values. You just note down that we have to see the value of 1.25 and then the value of 1.5. So this is the table that you will have to see from the end of your book. Standardized normal distribution area under standard normal curve from 0 to z. So this is the area from where we will be locating our values. Now see, the first value that we required was 1.25. Now see, you have to see from the left hand side 1.2. Where is 1.2? This is 1.2. 1.25 means you have to see under 5. So this is 1.2. 1.2 under 5 is 0.3944. You can see from your books this value is 0.3944. This I am going to write. The second value which I required was 1.5. Again we will see from here, where is 1.5? This is 1.5. So 1.5, it means it has to be seen under 0. So this value is 0.4322. So till 2 you can see from here, from 0.1 to, so this value will go till 3.9, you can always see from here. And from the up you can see from 0 to 9 it will vary. So you have to see the value. I'll again tell you, 1.25 means 1.2 under 5. So what is the value we have to see from here? Then 1.5, so 1.5 is here, 1.5 under 0. So now we will note down these two values. So the first value that we noted was 0.3944. So let's see how we are going to write it. So we will write from the table area corresponding to 0 to z1. So when we saw z1, that is minus 1.25, you will have to ignore this minus sign. This minus sign was only required when we put up these values over here, 1.25. So z can be positive, negative, but table values can never be positive, negative. So when we saw the value 1.25 from the table, you have noted that this value was 0.3944. This was the first value. Similarly, again you will write the same line from the table. Area corresponding to 0 to z2. When we looked at the value of 1.5, this value was 0.4332. So now we have seen that we required this value. This value we have seen. This is this. This value we have seen. This. So if we require the area between these, it means we will have to add these 2 points. So you will be writing that the total area between x160 and x282 is equals to, now we will add these values, 0.3944 plus 0.4332. Why we have to add? That we have seen from the graph that we have just drawn, that we have to add these values. So when you will add these values, this comes out to be 0.8276. So this will become our answer, that area covered under x160, x280 is 0.8276, or we can say 82.76%. Now one more thing I would like to tell you is, if in any question capital N has been given, because here you will not have small n, you can see the formula as we have applied, x minus x mean upon standard deviation. So there will be only one n, that n will be capital N. If n is given, your answer will be multiplied by that n, then you will be getting the answer, because then we have to calculate the number. But now we have just calculated the area, and here you can leave the question.